Hey, what's going on? It's Jason Lucchese and welcome back to our YouTube channel. I am so excited that you are here with us. Joining me as usual, Mr. Michael Bretthauer. Mike, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing good, Jason. Joining you as usual. Glad to be here.
Awesome. Well, hey, we've got a really hot topic that we're going to dive into. 2021 is going to be a crazy year. We're going to be diving in and sharing some facts from the U.S. Census Bureau about some of the stuff going on with foreclosures and pre-foreclosures and how this can be a huge opportunity for you. Because, Mike, back in 2008 when the crash hit, you know that when you were still in the Marine Corps, I was just hopping in and getting business going for us from a short sale standpoint. But when you got out, how crazy was it when you dove in and we were having people call us left and right?
It was crazy, man. I mean, especially getting started, it was like sort of anxiety giving with how many people were reaching out and like freaking out about losing their house.
Yeah, and we're only going to see more of that happen in 2021 and especially even more so in 2022, depending on how these moratoriums go and these mortgage forbearances go. A lot of people, want to be like super big experts on everything, but we're just going to show you some of the facts here in just a moment from state to state and how many people are actually in this predicament of facing foreclosure. It's dwarfing the numbers from 2008. And I'm going to share this with you here on our screen in just a moment. But what does this really mean going into 2021? So you're going to have to pivot. You're going to have to shift your business because as of right now, if you are not currently, paying attention to everything that's been happening, we are in what's called, the crash or the correction or whatever you want to call it. We are there, and it's only going to continue to become more of a problem. And individuals are going to need somebody, especially if they're in foreclosure, they're going to need somebody to help them out. Real estate agents are helping. Investors can also be an individual. We have done a lot of short sales in the past. We would love to share that with you on today's video. Because, Mike, when we were, doing our marketing and people would call us and we would go sit across the table from them, why don't we kind of talk about like what was like their feeling? Like, did they basically, these folks are 6, 7, 8 months behind. They aren't working. Unemployment, for them at that time was terrible. Jobs just weren't readily available. What was some of the things that we were seeing from sitting across people at a kitchen table?
I just have to say that if you haven't been paying attention to things, you really need to crawl out from underneath that rock because it's everywhere. It's right in your face. And when it comes to talking to these folks, you're going to find that they're scared. They really don't know what their options are. They don't know what to do. It's just they're panicking and they're looking for an answer. And when you sit down and present yourself in a way that's like, hey, I have some answers, they're curious. They want to talk to you and they're very curious as to what you have to say and what options you could potentially present to them. And a lot of times they're just grateful to have that kind of a conversation with somebody who wants to listen to what happened.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're really wanting to share everything because a lot of these folks don't know their options. Because a couple of things before I hop in and start showing you this map is individuals feel like they just need to leave the house. I've seen that so many different times. Like they just leave the house to try and go to another state or another part of their state to find work, because that's the main thing. They need to be able to pay bills. And they're just like, all right, we're stuck. We have nothing to do here. So we're just going to leave the house. How many houses, Mike, that we would go and, we would go and door knock to, like they were just gone. They just left. And some of the times like basements would flood because the power got shut off and it would end up turning into a mold mess. Like how many people? It was probably like 1 out of 6.
There was a lot of houses that we walked into that had a mess. That were just, and it was just simple little things, like you said, like a flooded basement. The rest of the house looked great, but then, you go down to the stairs and you open the door and all of a sudden, oh, there's a foot of water down there. What happened? Well, the homeowners left and the house fell apart.
Yeah. That sub pump, once power goes off, that thing starts rising. And, we've been able to come across molded properties where other investors, they just run for the hills. We see those as huge opportunities. And I'm going to hop in here in just a moment and talk to you about some of the other options homeowners have other than short sale, just so you could kind of get a good picture of what to expect, because you're probably going to be talking to some of these people, and maybe it might be on accident. Maybe you put out a bandit sign, maybe you contact somebody that has a vacant house, maybe they're in foreclosure. But what we're going to do is I'm going to hop in and show you the screen right now. And this was from a site called Visual Capitalist. It's a really great site. And as you can see, the title here is The Risk of Eviction and Foreclosures in U.S. States. So one of the things here that you could see, the darker the color, the darker that we see here is going to show you how high the foreclosures are actually happening, in addition with eviction notices. We're seeing it at really all-time highs. And we're seeing this climb and climb and climb. So I'm going to share the link for you so you could check this out on your own. I didn't want to spend too much time on each individual state. Going over all 50 states would take up, a lot of time. And I value your time, so I don't want to hop into all of that. But as you start going here, and you can see they gathered this data from the U.S. Census Bureau. And even though this was, from a few weeks ago, the data is still insanely accurate. So right here, one of the big things, the U.S., and I did that wrong there, but hey, you get to still see the screen. So the U.S. overall reports nearly 5.7 million people who are likely to lose their home in the next 2 months, of 17 million who are not current on rent or mortgage payments. These numbers literally are probably 3 to 4 times what we were seeing between 2008 and 2011.
Now is a great time to start reaching out to folks because, like you said, people are freaking out. But here's the thing, because we're going into 2021, and there's just so much uncertainty with what's going on right now, they're not doing anything. They are freaking out in their homes, looking at these bills, talking amongst themselves, and just making the problem worse because they're not paying and they're not doing anything. And so now is a good time to reach out with what options and which information. Just, hey, we're here to offer you information. We're just here to present options to you. We're not here to, pull you out of foreclosure. I'm not promising you anything. I'm just here to give you some information that's going to help you out. There are other things that you can do besides letting the bank take your house. Here's some other things that you can do. Or you have questions about that. Well, I've been doing this for over 5 years. I have a good understanding of the rules. I can go ahead and explain some of this stuff further. I can even present you with some options besides you going to the bank for foreclosure if you want to do something different, and they'll start having the wheels spin in their head, the hamsters will start turning, and all of a sudden they'll become clear, like, hey, I should get a jump on this now because the writing's already on the wall. They already know it. That's why they're in their house freaking out. And now you are the first person that presented them with solutions.
Yeah, and that's what it's really all about, is being a problem solver, being solution oriented. That's going to help you out quite a bit with your business moving forward, because if you weren't a part of 08, 09, or 2010, then you really need to start coming on board right now and start understanding there's going to be a lot of homeowners that are facing uncertain times, and they're going to need somebody like you to help them out. So I'm going to hop back in here to this graph here so that you could see some of the additional statistics. Now, one thing before I hop back in there, if you would like our marketing piece for, sending out to individuals in pre-foreclosure and get a high response rate, I'd be more than happy to share that with you. Make sure you leave a comment below and say, hey, I would love that short sale marketing piece, and we'll get that to you. Just make sure you drop a comment below, and we'll also share that with you at the end. All right, so we're back in here. I just want to show you some of the things that are reporting from the Census Bureau. The 17 million, so I'm going to highlight this, 17 million adults are not current on their rent or mortgage payment. A whopping 33% of them could be facing eviction or foreclosure. And we're talking in the next 2 months, folks. When I originally received this information, now you can see here, I'm going to scroll back up at the top here. This was published a few weeks ago, like I was saying, December 14th, 2020. So this is happening at a rapid pace, So there's millions that are facing home loss. Texas stands out with an estimated 718,000 people facing foreclosure or eviction. Now, in fact, more than 7.1 million people in the state may be expecting a loss of employment. That's huge. So unemployment rates are at a huge number. So I'm going to hop back in so you can see us right here. Now, those numbers are huge. I'm going to go ahead and share the link below in the description field. So if you would like access to that, it's in there. So you could take a look at this. This is a really important information that you really need to be paying attention to. Things are going to be moving relatively pretty quick. Now, some of the things that probably banks aren't sharing at this point, there's typically going to be, Mike, probably three things of options. So first one is, hey, foreclose. Just allow the homeowner to foreclose, and you've got this huge blemish on your credit for the next 7 years. And even at that 7-year mark, you're still going to have to use some sort of a credit repair company to get that foreclosure taken off of your credit. Next option is a deed in lieu. Deed in lieu is basically a foreclosure, but you're turning over, it's called cash for keys. You're signing over the deed to the house, and that also comes with potential issues. Now, sometimes the bank won't always accept that. If there's additional liens on the property, maybe you haven't been paying your HOE fees, maybe you have additional liens placed against the property, tax liens, any judgments, they're not going to do the deed in lieu because they're not going to pay that stuff off. So a deed in lieu could also damage the credit. So Mike and I have talked to a lot of these folks, and when we explain the options to them, it's really crystal clear to them what they need to do, and that's short sale, because loan modifications more than likely aren't going to be a solution at this point in time. We haven't heard of anything. Maybe with everything happening in 2021 in Q1, maybe some sort of a solution will come about. But as of right now, we haven't heard anything in the pipeline. The other thing too, Mike, you know this from being in the military and some of the other things, if individuals have government jobs, but if you have a foreclosure on your record, that could really hurt your status of being able to get information through the government. Maybe you could talk on that, Mike, and let some of these folks know how important that is. If you have some of that stuff on there, they're not going to always share certain details with you, and you might even get fired.
It's serious. They look at it and they'll even tell you in the military, if you're trying to get certain clearances, you're trying to get a certain job in the military. And this is just a military standpoint. This applies. It's everywhere. It's applicable everywhere in civilian life. Police officers, FBI agents. I'm sure there's top CEOs and stuff that have to have certain clearances and certain qualifications. And if you have something like a foreclosure on your record, they look at it as you are not reliable and we cannot give you this clearance, because clearly it would be a huge error on our side. We would just basically be giving up this information because you cannot be trusted.
And that's going to also cause potential job loss here in the future if a foreclosure gets on there, because a lot of employers, especially when you need those types of clearances, your credit's pulled often. It's pulled on a monthly basis when you're in there. It might not be a hard pull, which starts dinging your credit. It might be a soft pull to where they're seeing and updating and making sure you're not getting yourself jacked up with foreclosures. You're paying your taxes, because if you don't pay your federal and state taxes, they become liens and they start showing up on credit. Those things will not allow you to keep certain jobs. So moving forward, short sale is one of the best options. The other thing too is you can negotiate with the bank to have deficiency judgments waived. If you're unfamiliar with what that is, it's basically the difference of the balance when you do a short sale. So let's say Joey of all people, he owes $200,000 as an unpaid principal balance on his mortgage. And we end up doing a short sale with the bank for $150,000. You can negotiate with the bank that they're not going to come after Joey and his family for the $50,000. That's huge, because Mike, you can't really negotiate during a deed in lieu and a foreclosure. That deficiency judgment might come, and I don't see any mortgage foreclosure relief like we used to have, to where that could just be completely written off on your taxes. I don't see anything like that coming from the IRS. I don't see anything from the government saying, hey, you're going to be able to waive that stuff. As of right now,
it's important. It's important to note that a lot of people lost their houses because they were waiting for some sort of relief to come through. Oh, the bank's going to work with me. The government's going to come through on this. We're going to get some sort of relief. There was a lot of people that held on to that hope because there was talk about it. Like loan modifications is another one of those things that people held on to hope, because the bank was like, oh yeah, we'll submit your information. But there was never any follow through. Nothing ever happened. And because of that, you hear about people losing their house. That's a large percentage of them right there.
That is, and it's unfortunate because there's people that are getting left out on the street. Next thing you know, they get a notice because they were trying to wait for a deed in lieu to kick in. Maybe the bank said, hey, we're going to give you $2,000 if you sign this deed in lieu. And they send all the information in. They're waiting for their check. And the bank just decides, hey, we're not going to do this. And you, as the homeowner, the whole entire time, the foreclosure process is continuing in your state. Same thing happens, like Mike was just saying, with loan modifications. We talked to several homeowners that thought they were going to get a principal loan reduction. And on top of that, that their interest rate was going to get slashed to where they were going to have an affordable payment. Guys, that's more than likely not going to happen in the future. Even people back then that were getting approved for loan modifications were really slim. The chances of you actually getting approved were so low. And while you're waiting to see if you can get approved, the foreclosure process is continuing on. So if you would like to get our marketing piece for, going and sending off messages, marketing pieces to homeowners that are facing foreclosure, drop a comment below and just let us know, hey, I would love to have your short sale marketing piece. Now, one of the things that I want to talk to you about, if you would love to chat with Mike and myself, or maybe even Jason Palliser, we would love to get on the horn with you. Go to myblueprintcall.com, schedule a time right now to talk to us. 2021 is a huge year. There's a lot of stuff that you should be doing right now if you're not doing it currently, or maybe you see what's going on, but you're not quite sure where to proceed. Schedule that call, myblueprintcall.com. Mike, what could people expect when they go to the website?
You should definitely go to this website right now, because first, as soon as you go to the website, you're going to see a bunch of information on what the blueprint is, what we do for other investors like yourself. But then you're also going to see some individuals like yourself that have gone through a blueprint. And then on the call, once you book to talk to us, we're going to dive right into your business, unfold all the wrinkles that are holding you back. And then we're going to inject everything that we're doing for those same folks that you saw on that page. So all those individuals bragging about those huge checks and how we changed their business. And now instead of doing this 9 to 5, they're doing real estate full time. On this call, we're going to talk to you about what we do to help them do that. So you can take these applications, these strategies, and start doing it in your business right now.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike, for explaining that. So make sure you head on over there. You could check out what other people are saying. Don't just take our word for it. But hey, we would love to have, a no obligation call with you. We'll talk for 30 minutes or so about your business. Just head on over to myblueprintcall.com. Would love to have a conversation with you. But other than that, if you enjoyed our video today about all of the stuff that's happening in the market, like right now, make sure you give us a big thumbs up. Make sure you drop a comment below. And most importantly, make sure you become a subscriber of the channel. We would love to have you. And you also would get notifications from whenever we drop new exciting videos just like this that could really help you and your business. But other than that, I'll be on the lookout for your comments about our marketing piece. And I will talk to you on the next video. Take care. Have a great day. Bye.